Okay, the more customizable the UI, the better. It seems Steven agrees. What do I think about cutscenes? I like cutscenes, but if I'm in an open world, I feel like a cutscene is going to leave me vulnerable. Maybe only have longer cutscenes in nodes or in instanced areas. Those shorter cutscenes in the open world could be cool. Like, say you're progressing through a raid and get to a boss room and you get like a 2-3 second cutscene introducing the boss would be neat. The worry is that if PvP is available in open world, don't get me stuck in a cutscene when I need to be aware of the world around me. I'll just skip the cutscene. 100% agree with Steven. Please do not go into this expecting a gaming experience. This is a true alpha. It is meant to test, nothing more. Expecting a polished product is just the wrong expectation. This is another great point. This is on us as content creators to help manage our audience's expectations. I expect that most of the content people watch for Ashes is likely content made outside of Intrepid. Generally, I would say most creators don't push this expectation regularly enough. It's just so cool that they care about this stuff at this time. I don't see a lot of developers asking for feedback generally. Most developers are very reactive to player sentiment. Intrepid is like, please tell us what you think. We want to make a better game. But I feel like most developers, after their forums and reviews start being blasted with negative reviews, we hear you. We'll make this change that you've been begging for. I will be playing Alpha 2 and uploading as much of it as I can to YouTube. Dude, the more in-depth you can go on classes and weapons makes me so excited. I love making choices for my build. It brings me so much closer to my character. Preach! Sand Squall Desert. Are those flowers? Seems a little lush for a desert, though the fireflies are lit. My favorite desert biome I played in was Tatooine in Star Wars The Old Republic. Satisfactory also has a nice desert. Actual rotation of the planet and sky? I don't spend enough time in my games looking up. I hope that changes in Ashes. I have never been much of a graphics connoisseur, so excuse me if I don't say much about the details of the graphics. I just don't care that much. The night is super atmospheric, and I love the way the lighting interacts with the darkness. I don't care too much about graphics, but the atmosphere in a game is super important to me. And I'm a sucker for atmosphere as it really sells the immersion. Also, I never play mage. So when I see these abilities, I don't have a specific idea in my head of what they should feel and look like. For the ranger, like I have a template in my head of what a great ranger should look like and what I want my ranger to feel like. So I see these mage abilities and I just don't have a strong connection with the class enough to really feel much about it either way. That sleep effect is really sick looking at night. The way that like purple blooms off the enemy works real nice in the dark. Ball lightning update. I guess I prefer this, though the first one didn't bother me. I think they need to show more bugs in these updates. They mentioned scrapping some takes before because of bugs. But if you really want to set the expectation for Alpha 2, you should include bugs like this for the audience to understand what they're going to be getting into for Alpha 2. Visually, this skill tree looks much more intuitive to use. Definitely hits the feng shui right on this one. The older skill trees didn't seem to visually show progression paths clearly. They felt more placeholder, but this is closer to what an intuitive skill tree should look like. If I'm hearing this right, wands will have both beams and projectiles, and your choices in this tree will impact those. I wonder if other weapons are going to have like dual options like this, like maybe staves you could spec into physical attacks and magical projectiles, and you can choose one or the other if you want. That being said, they mentioned that you should be able to fully spec 1 to 2 weapons, so maybe these choices only matter as you level. So far, the magical effects look great. My philosophy on effects like these is that weaker effects should look smaller, and powerful effects should look bigger. So the wand effects need to be much smaller than the ability effects, and the weaker ability effects need to look smaller than the strong heavy hitting ability effect. Oh, The mage skill tree. I'm going to be diving into that later. I can't wait to get into skill trees. Weapon trees, class trees, artisan trees. I love trees. I'm noticing that it seems like when he exclusively wand attacks the enemy, they seem to die in about the same time as when he exclusively uses his class abilities. I'm not sure if I like that or if this is the intention of it. I would assume that the weapon's basic attack should be much weaker than the abilities. Abilities use mana and your weapon attacks don't. There doesn't seem to be an upside to using abilities when the basic attack gets the job done in the same amount of time. I would guess that the abilities should kill enemies at maybe a third of the rate that all weapon attacks would, but I don't know. I have never really played a game with high-end graphics. I've always had a lower-end computer. I plan on doing some upgrades for Ashes so I can really enjoy some cutting-edge graphics. I have not played a lot of casters, not my cup of tea, and I particularly don't like the fantasy of wands. But this mage is pretty cool, and the wand does look sick. I think this is the right call. I don't think a mage using a great sword should be as good as a mage using a wand. But being able to make that choice and putting the power in our hands is a good thing. I feel like node wars are going to be a huge part of my endgame loop. I expect I will enjoy picking an area or biome and making it my home and seeking to be that area's protector. Having specific gear for artisans is a nice touch. It will provide bonuses to your artisan products. And if I'm going to spend time cooking, I'd love to have the option to wear a chef's hat with a rat in it and clothes to make my baked goods better. Visual progression of gear is super important. And it's one of the reasons I don't love cosmetics. But from what I understand, the cosmetics will follow the visual progression and you can't put level 40 cosmetics on level 10 gear. I do think that if I am the artisan, I should be able to understand the likelihood of success or failure in the artisan work I'm doing. I do not think the drop chances and things like that should be public, but in some situations, more info helps players to make more informed decisions, and in some situations, more info just kills the mystery and sense of adventure. It's a good idea. If you want max level to matter, you have to throttle players' ability to just group up with high levels and burn through mobs. I really want max level to matter. I want it to be an accomplishment and not something people can cheese their way through. I want 1 to 49 to feel like a complete game in and of itself. And then I want 50 to feel like a completely new game, a new adventure. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Like and subscribe to hear me be wrong about more things. Have a good one.